man. We're rolling.
So we actually did it, buddy. Last night, sat down and recorded our Patreon movie review for Moneyball.
We
We
did it.
did do the same thing. Now to have everyone's back who has also been like, well, yes, you guys also laid down League of Their Own. And we have yet to see that. Again, we apologize on that. That is a lost file.
It's the lost tapes, yeah.
Yeah, it's the lost tapes. Never going to see it. If there's ever been a thing in my adult life that has reminded me of my grade 8 science project that I got to turn in 6 weeks later because my teacher just refused to fail me, it's this right here.
Oh, man, did you hate doing that project as much as we hated recording that episode? Because here's the thing, like, A League of Their Own isn't a bad movie, right? But it was not a... I mean, we were laying down bangers, Major League, Mr. Baseball, Bull Durham. We were blasting through some real, like, absolute beloved ones. I don't know what it was about A League of Their Own. In my head, I remembered it being so much better than it was when I rewatched it.
We felt a little differently about it. I did not. I like League of Their Own. Now,
I don't dislike it. No.
To do it again, I don't want to do it again. Right? Like, I don't want to lay down that episode again. And you pretty much are like, absolutely not. We're not doing it.
Well, I remember before we recorded it, both of us complaining about how hard it was to get through the movie, Scott. So don't pretend like you loved every minute of it.
It's a slower movie than I remember it being.
All
yes.
right, thank you.
Anyways, we will move along because we do have a big show here. But a big thank you to all you Patreon that are hanging with us despite our procrastination and not getting you these movie reviews in the last month and a half.
Hey, but we have replaced our shortcomings there with easy low-hanging fruit. We throw the pre-show up. So all the pre-show prep we do, the 10, 15, 20 minutes that we do bullshit with each other, that is available on Patreon.
And it's riveting stuff, folks.
It's riveting. Oh, yeah. If you want to hear me singing and us talking about my inevitable trip to the doctors this afternoon, that's the place to find it. So thanks to John, Simon, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, and Ian for supporting us. Thanks to all the other Patreons who have supported us and decided after we botched A League of Their Own that we're no longer worth the $4. So, but thank you anyways. And should we get into it?
Let's do it. So let's start with interviews. We've had some really good interviews recently. Of course, Danny Jansen.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Starting catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. He sat down with us. Great interview. That's up currently in our full conversations pull down in YouTube. And you can, of course, find it wherever you get your podcasts on the audio side of things. And if you haven't kind of deep dived into some of those conversations and you found the channel more recently, you really should scroll 6 months, a year down, because we've got some really good talks in there. Guys like Sean Green and Pat Hankin that start telling stories about, those 93 World Series years and just coming up the Blue Jays ranks.
If you want to...
Pat Hankin talks winning a Cy Young. It's pretty cool.
Shea Hillenbrand talks fighting Gibbons, quitting baseball, and opening a zoo. So if you guys remember Shea Hillenbrand, nice, candid conversation with him. Yeah, it's just some absolute bangers.
We also have, we're not going to name who it is, but he did respond and confirm that he would love to do the podcast, but we do have another rostered Blue Jay that hopefully we can get on in the next, who knows, maybe sooner than later. They're finally starting to get some days off in this. So
if Uncle Jer is listening, he hates teasing news. He's like, if you have an announcement, just announce it. So I'll just say, once we have a date locked down with this person, then we'll announce the news.
Okay, apologies to everyone who's like Uncle Jared, just hated everything I just did there. We do have a big show. Before we do that, I do want to get into the socials and the house cleaning of the whole thing. You can get a hold of us on Twitter, especially for Mailbag. That's at Walk Off Podcast. You can do the same on Instagram. Adam runs that side of things, the Walk Off Podcast. Leave your comments and your questions and your thoughts in the comment section on the YouTube page. We also comb through that. All right, let's get into it, buddy.
Blue Jays stink. Let's start with that.
Yeah, it's been a frustrating week. The Blue Jays offense has not been pretty, and it's why they lost that series to the Yankees. We'll talk the team's anemic bats. Tough loss last night against the Guardians, but reinforcements hopefully on the way. We'll delve into that. There were some positives from the week. I don't want to be the negative Ned of the bunch, so we are going to shine a positive light on some of the things that have happened in the last week, Kikuchi being the big one. Tim effing Mayza just continues to be overlooked by the rest of the league and maybe even some in Toronto. Not on this show, though. We'll deep dive into Mayza and Cincinnati. Oh, buddy. The Reds have just become the new embarrassment of baseball. You're welcome, Oakland. So we'll talk what's happening with the Reds, and then we'll end on a happy note. Rowdy Tellez and his Milwaukee Brewers record-breaking game there the other day, and just the great season he's having.
Big stuff.
So let's talk this Blue Jays offense faceplant that they have gone into. And it's been bad the last week. But the truth is, it hasn't been a bright spot on this team all year long. Mm-hmm. They have struggled with the bats. The team is as cold as my wife's shoulder when I bring up my fantasy team, buddy. And that is ice cold. It is not pretty. Some hard data on this team that's tough to swallow. So here we go. The Jays are 16-11 and have been nerve-wracking to watch. So this is how the Blue Jays wins break down in 2022. Wins by 1 run, 10. Wins by 2 runs, 2. Wins by 3 runs, 2. Wins by 4+ runs, 2. And it gets weirder because this is just, those are weird stats. It's not even like, whoa, look at what the Jays are doing. It's just weird. The Jays are 5-5 when they score 5 runs or more, and they're 11-6 when they're scoring 5 or less.
That's wild.
Like, this is why this team's nerve-wracking.
So we need to stop scoring as many runs then.
Well,
we need to cool that offense more, put some more pressure on those pitchers to really step up.
I think this is why Blue Jays fandom is in a bit of a tizzy, right? We've all watched enough baseball to know this is a lucky stat. Mm-hmm. This is not going to carry on. Nope. The Jays can't continue to win the majority of their games scoring less than 5 runs. Like, the other shoe is going to drop, and the Jays need to find it. Yesterday's game was the most runs that they have scored in over a week since they lost 11-7 to the Houston Astros on April 29th. They are ice cold, man. If there's any positives to take from this, and we are going to get into a list of positives to take from it, but the one thing that is kind of a shining light here is they are still 16-11. They have managed to not get swept by the Yankees last series. I don't even know how they pulled that off, man. Like, losing to the Yankees is so tough as a Jays fan because they're like, I feel like they're our main competition for the playoffs. Like, in the grouping, they're right there. They're one of the main rivals. So whenever you lose a series to the Yankees, it hurts. But it hurts even more when they do it in such a dominant fashion. Like, even the one win the Jays got was a 2-1 victory on Wednesday. Like, how did you feel about this Yankees series, man?
Well, it sure fucking felt not good. That's my expert analysis. Manoah looked good in the loss. That one's not on him. Kikuchi, I mean, you say silver lining Kikuchi. He's shown us glimmers of hope so far this season. His most recent outing against the Yankees was like probably his best one of the season. I don't know if I'm ready to say I feel good about him yet, but I mean, honestly, if he's our if he's our 5th starter and half of his starts are decent, then I think you're doing all right from your 5th starter.
We are going to get into Kikuchi a little bit more. I don't want to jump the gun here, so just put a pin in that. But I did want to just end on that thought of the Jays front office feels that they can unlock something in Kikuchi, and nothing happens overnight, and we are only 1 month into the season. But again, we will kind of deep dive into Kikuchi a little bit more here. But I wanted to talk No, go ahead.
So what's more concerning about the going 1-2 against the Yankees is I don't like losing to Cleveland. Is Cleveland good?
So, no, they're not. I
Because they've
really don't
scored
think.
more runs than we have. They've
Yes.
only allowed about the same amount of runs that we have. Their record doesn't reflect it.
No. Their pitching is not as good as our pitching. Yesterday's game was a tough one, man. I mean, for a few reasons. So for a few reasons, it was tough because it feels like we're at the light at the end of the tunnel. If you kind of get what I mean, like they get their first day off May 9th, so Monday, since April 18th, and it has been a grind since the start of the season when it started April 8th. Right, they had 30 games in 31 days. On top of that, the team kind of in grind mode, right? They're dealing with injuries. Their flight didn't get into Cleveland until 4:30 a.m. yesterday. The game started just over 12 hours later with that early 6 p.m. Eastern start. George Springer was being rested, so the team looked even thinner on paper. How did you like Montoyo's decision to give George the day off?
I mean, I guess it's necessary is the
Okay, yeah.
what it comes down to. It's I don't like it, like,
Yeah.
but Springer is not going to be 155 games a year in center field. That's not what we're going to get out of him. So
We need to rest him in May so that he can play every game in October.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, ultimately that's it, right? Yeah, it's tough. I don't know what the right answer is. I feel like if we're going to rest starters, I don't know. You play fantasy sports, right? I play
Sure.
fantasy football is a big one for me. Every team in the NFL has one bye week. So through the course of your fantasy football season, there's one week for sure you're going to miss your starting quarterback and your best running back and etc. Right? So one strategy when it comes to drafting is like, well, make sure that you don't have all your wide receivers off at the same time because then you're fucked for that week, right? But the alternative strategy is just draft so that everyone has the same bye week. So, like, yeah, 1 week you're fucked and you take the loss, but the rest of the season you're at 100%. And I feel like that's what I would rather see out of this team is I would rather see us be at like close to 100% our best lineup for like 6 games a week and then one game where we're just like rolling out the AAA team. I don't know. It sucks.
Interesting.
It sucks to have lost that one to the Guardians to start the series. I mean, look, all week we were shitting on the Yankees coming in there, right? They're on their 8-game winning streak and all this
Yeah.
stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, but I mean, they beat up on the Royals and they beat up on Baltimore and they beat up
Orioles.
on the Guardians. And here we are, we're playing the Guardians. And this is kind of what I asked on the mailbag. There was like, if we had that same 9-game stretch, I'm not confident that we'd go 9-0 the way the Yankees
It's
did, right?
impossible. It's impossible to know how things would play out. You got to play the games, and obviously the Yankees are hot. Like we talked about this on the mailbag. You can't really take too much away from the Yankees because they played incredibly well, and they played really well against us.
Here's for me, this is what it comes down to. It's more than just the Yankees are hot. That is an organization that knows you got to get fat on the bad teams, right? You can go 500 against the Rays and against the Red Sox, against your rivals, against the Chicago White Sox of the world, against the Dodgers, against these teams. But then you got to take care of business against the Orioles and the Guardians and the Athletics and the Cincinnati Reds. And like, for me, that's the difference between like heading to the World Series, 106 win team and 97 wins and going out in the first round. Like we got to put ourselves in a position to be better. So that's why I've always been kind of skeptical all season long where it's like, well, the Jays continue to win each series, right? And it's like, okay, but we got to start going 3-0 against some of these bad teams. And I'm not sure that Cleveland is bad. I know we want to think that they are. I don't know how much of their success right now is just Jose Ramirez putting the team on his back with his new contract.
The Jays are cold, man.
Yeah.
162 games, and we're going to have ebbs and flows. Obviously, this is not one of the moments in the season the Jays fans are going to look back on and remember fondly, but there are some reasons for this. I mean, even yesterday, it was not a nice day at the ballpark, and I'm not making excuses for Barrios, but it was cold last night in Cleveland. It was spit and rain the whole time, and I know all the pitchers were dealing with the same thing, but it is tougher to pitch in cold weather. It's tougher to get a grip on the ball and to put the ball where you want to put it when it's wet out. He was lacking control. He was not locating his pitches. He definitely hung a few up there. I don't know. I really think this 4-game series against the Guardians, the Jays could still win the next 3 games without it being shocking or mind-blowing.
Well, I think I should need to. I don't know how to put enough emphasis on this. Like, if this first game of the series was the rest George Springer day, we had a bad day of travel, it's an ugly weather situation, let's punt on game 1 and then win the next 3. Like, if that's the strategy and we're going to roll out with Teoscar today, we're going to have Springer and, like, we're going to be balls to the wall and we got to put the boots to them. I feel bad even complaining, man. We're 16 and 11.
Well, the good news is you just touched on it. Springer is back in the lineup tonight, and I know that the lineup card hasn't been released yet as we're recording this right now. It probably will be by the time you're listening to it, but most likely Teoscar Hernandez is going to be back in the lineup. He went 2 for 4 last night with the Dunedin Blue Jays in a rehab assignment. He hit a home run. He took a walk. He's been looking pretty good as he's getting his swing back online here. Obviously, he's playing with the low A guys, so those numbers should be where they're at. If he's not back tonight, tomorrow almost for sure. So he's right around the corner here. Bo is heating up. I heard a little stat about Bo Bichette that kind of shocked me, but he leads the MLB in hard hit rate. So that goes to show you his cold April was a little bit unlucky, and he's starting to put up 2 hits, 3 hits a game. He's been pretty hot. He's looking good. He's hitting almost 400 in his last 6 games. Or he is hitting over 400, I should say.
Meanwhile, Vladdy hitting well under 200 in that same stretch.
Yeah, well, even Vladdy putting up that big home run last night was good to see. I really do think this offense is on the verge here, and the fact that we're sitting 16 and 11 when they were so ice cold, I don't know, man. It's
okay. I was on MLB.com this morning, and they had a little article. Here's the MVP for each team so far this season. I don't care about the other 29 teams, but do you want to know who their MVP was for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Is it Espinal?
The description starts with, this will probably end up being Vladimir Guerrero Jr. by the end of the year, but Alek Manoah has been incredible for the Blue Jays so far. A revelation for a team that has needed every inning he and fellow stud starter Kevin Gausman have been able to give. Alek Manoah is 4-0 through 5 starts with a 1.45 ERA. 6 innings feels like bankable at this time. Like, it's a day off for the bullpen. And it's Alek Manoah, absolutely a stud for us, and
yes, absolutely,
can't say enough. So just want a little tip of the cap to Alek Manoah, and I think this is the year that the MLB takes notice of him.
I agree, and if whether they want to or not, he's going to force them to, and you love to see that. I did want to just quickly circle back to Teoscar there, because I know that Bradley Zimmer has been just a black hole of offense at the back end of this batting order. He was never brought in for his bat. He was always brought in as a defensive sub, a guy who you could, late in a game, put into center field, right field to kind of, if it's Biggio or Lourdes or whoever, even Teoscar, you get a bit of a defensive bump by putting him out there. But, man, has he ever been, what's the word?
Bad?
I mean, bad. Yeah, I guess we can just I guess we can go with bad. I was looking for something a little bit better than that, but yeah,
Soggy.
he's just been soggy at the plate, like he's hitting with a wet noodle, like a damp noodle.
He okay. Real question though. Let's say we get our healthy guys back. We're in the roster crunch. We need a fourth outfielder. We've got Lourdes, we've got George, we've got Teoscar. Those are our three outfielders that we're rolling with 5 days a
Yeah.
week.
I think
Who
Tapia.
you
over
want
Zimmer.
Tapia over Zimmer?
I think so.
Ugh.
I think we all do.
No, I
I
don't
think
know.
even you
I
do.
don't.
I think
no,
even
I
you
don't.
do.
No, I don't. Because look, Zimmer's like batting average is bad. Tapia's isn't good. But Zimmer plays like he wants to be on the team. He plays like he wants to be better than he is.
Yes.
I don't get that vibe from Tapia. Like,
Yeah, but Tapia is better than Zimmer.
yeah,
I
but-
agree with you.
Oh man, I just, there's nothing that like rubs me the wrong way worse than a guy who's like fringe on the team anyways and
Yeah.
isn't like running out a infield grounder. Like,
One thing
just-
for Jays fans to kind of keep in mind, I think, when it comes to Zimmer and even Tapia for that matter, is that when you put Teoscar Hernandez in the lineup and remove them, it is such a boost. You know, like you're taking out Zimmer, who's hitting ninth. You're putting Teoscar in, who's hitting cleanup. The lineup gets lengthened. Everyone's moving down. You're also putting a guy in who is going to hit like a middle of the order bat, right? Instead of a 65 batting average and an on base percentage of 100, you know, Teoscar is going to give you the chance at some power, the chance of driving in some runs. A thing that this team has struggled with so much over the last month is runners in scoring position and getting runs in with two outs. I think Teoscar returning is so much bigger than people are even giving it credit for.
just speaking of roster management here, I'm just reading an article here on CBS Sports. Looks like Cavan Biggio is set to join the AAA club.
Okay.
So
And that's best. I think that
he's currently on the COVID IL.
yeah.
But it looks like as he's set to return from the COVID IL, that he's not going to be joining the Blue Jays and he's going to be heading to AAA. So
This is going to be interesting to see how they deal with Biggio, because he's at the point, I think, where personally I want to see him hit his way back onto this major league lineup. I think unless he's if he's not excelling at AAA, I think you just leave him there,
yeah,
right? Unless
Yeah.
maybe there's the major injury or something, and then I'd rather see Biggio than maybe some of the other options.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would send Biggio down AAA, and I would give him like everyday reps in the outfield, and I would rather have
I
him
want
be.
s-
I want him to be
I
our
want s-
fourth outfielder, if I'm being honest. Like that's
Yeah, okay.
fourth outfielder who can fill in a pinch in the infield, but Espinal's too good in the infield. The infield
Yes.
is solid, but I
Yes.
would rather have Biggio than Tapia. But Biggio needs everyday bats to put up any sort of productive numbers.
I'm almost at the point where I want to see Biggio excel so much the Jays don't have a choice. I would rather see Samad Taylor called up
Yeah,
than Biggio
that's
at
fair.
this point. But okay, so we've been negative. We have been downtrodden. Let's put a little bit of positivity into this. So despite the negative vibes a lot of the fan base has been feeling, we might as well show the silver lining. We did just touch on Teoscar returning, which is huge. If not today, he will be back tomorrow. A lot of the other injured guys are getting very close to returning, which is good news for the Jays across the board. Danny Jansen within a week or so of coming back.
Yep.
Nate Pearson is throwing again. We're seeing Ryan Barucki make progress and probably rejoining this bullpen within a week. A lot of good things. The reinforcements are coming. Pitching has been the most excellent part of this team.
Yep.
Both starting pitching and bullpen. I mean, they have had blips, but it's been encouraging all year long. Yusei Kikuchi was excellent in that lone win that they got against the Yankees. He went 6 strong innings. Adam, I know you've got his stat line there if you want to lay it on us.
Yeah.
Also, his fastball looked great, man. Like, he was playing his fastball off his cutter really well. His cutter is excellent as well, but his cutter gets shit on so much because he has this bad tendency of when he misses with the cutter, it is just dead center. It is just a nice, juicy one right down the center there. Anyways,
Well,
go ahead.
yesterday when we were doing our Moneyball review and we had special guest Hey Kami join us, we were talking just before you joined the Zoom call there, and we were talking about Kikuchi, and Joel pointed out that looks like they've kind of taken his cutter and his slider and are kind of splitting the difference and have kind of combined it into the same pitch almost. I didn't quite follow it, but he said that like the velocity is closer like to the average between the two, and like the usage has changed. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's some Pete Walker magic at work, and maybe that's reason to believe that it's sustainable. Anyways, so Kikuchi's stat line.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I'll just say.
No, I will. We'll get to the stat line. Sorry, you're right. I just want to play off what you just said there.
Of course, yeah. Timing is great. All
like
right.
the thing with the Kikuchi stuff is like adjustments, both on the physical and mental side, don't happen overnight. Like Pete Walker is working with him regularly, but not just on mechanical stuff. And we have seen the mechanical adjustments, right? Like where Kikuchi likes to do that little shimmy midway through his wind-up, and they've kind of tried to eliminate that. But even getting him thinking differently, right, when he's got a guy 0-2 or 1-2, what is he going to do? What is he comfortable with? And getting that mental side of things working is just a work in progress. But yes, lay on this very impressive stat line.
So Kikuchi pitched 6 innings, 7 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Like those numbers. That's a great ratio. He gave up 3 hits. 1 of them was a home run to Joey Gallo in the 3rd inning. So that was the only earned run that he gave up, the only run on the day. Yeah. What else do you need to, like, it was
he was excellent. And everyone was writing him off. Everyone was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a series sweep for sure. And, of course, the baseball gods step in. And whenever everyone thinks they know, they don't.
Hey, look, and the Yankees sent out Nestor Cortes to the mound, who has been great for them. Yeah, I mean, with Garrett Cole struggling at the start of the year, Nestor Cortes got an ERA of 1.82 on the season, I believe. So, yeah, Nestor Cortes with that funky delivery has been their best pitcher, their best starting pitcher. So did we trust Kikuchi against their de facto ace to steal that 3rd win in the series, or that 3rd game in the series? No, of course not. I don't think anybody was being irresponsible to assume that was also going to be a loss, but that's why the games are played, right? So
100%. Other positives to take from the last week of a fairly negative week is Bo's heating up. It's good to see. Vladdy's hitting home runs again. Springer's been great. Teoscar's coming back. Jordan Romano continues to be lights out. Tim Mayza. Now we're gonna transition here into just talking about Tim Mayza, but Tim Mayza has been a shining beacon of light for this bullpen. He might be the best 8th inning guy in all of baseball, and I know some of you are like, "Whoa, slow your roll here, Scott." But let's get into some of what Tim Mayza has done, because you may hear me say that I love Tim Mayza over and over again, because I am. I'm a big Tim Mayza fan.
Okay.
But he's probably been the best reliever in this Blue Jays bullpen all year, which is wild to say because we have the American League reliever of the month of April in Jordan Romano in this bullpen. Like, it's no small thing to say that Mayza has outpitched Romano, and I really do believe he has. Mayza has been absolutely shut down in every situation he's been called upon. He's also facing the heart of these other teams' lineups, right? Like, he's being brought in to face these middle of the orders. He's the big lefty out of this pen, but what's even more amazing about Tim Mayza is his splits have been incredible. It doesn't matter if he's fading a righty or a lefty. I don't know, man. I can't say enough good things about Tim Mayza, so let's break it down, because he's got ice water running through his veins. He faces the most difficult hitters on every lineup. How has he looked in 2022?
Well, in 2022, so on the entire season, he through 9 2/3 innings pitched. He's got a K per nine rate of 9.3, very good, and a walk per nine rate under 1. So, yeah, like a 9-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Very nice to see there. ERA also under 1, so just 0.93. Yeah, I mean, giving up 0 home runs, only 1 earned run through the 10 appearances that we've got from him. So, yeah, I mean, it's been as lights out as you could ask for.
His composure level is absolutely unwavering, but I know some of you might hear this stat line and go small sample size, small sample size. Well, let's widen the sample size, Adam.
Let's back it up.
I know. Let's do the full 2021 season, and then
Okay,
we'll scope in a
if
little.
we're looking at the full 2021 season, now that one's gone, Scott. We talked about this before the show. We weren't going to do the full 2021 season. So now that stat is closed. You're just fucking with me.
You don't need to pull it up.
You're
You don't
such
need
a
to pull it up.
monster. All right, I've got it. Well, now that I don't need to pull it up. Now I've got it pulled up. So suck on that,
Okay.
would you? So for the 2021 season, his ERA ended at 3.4 on the year. But if you take out the first 2 months of the season, it's significantly better. So I think that's the point that you wanted to really emphasize here was he had a rocky start to last season. So if we go from March through May, like March 31st through May 31st, he had an ERA of almost 8. It was 7.9, which you do not want to see from your relievers.
And some of you may even remember that Tim got blown up in May a couple times when the sky was falling on our bullpen.
Yes.
And it was literally imploding in on itself. Tim Mayza was the part of that.
So
But
in 13 2/3 innings, he had 12 earned runs. All the other stats agreed that it was not good. But if we look at, let's start from July 1st through the end of the season last year. And his ERA was 2 the rest of the way. So significantly
one of the best
improved
relievers.
over the back half of the last year.
Tim Mayza, like, what an unsung hero for this team. And he's going to continue to be. So I just have the
Friend of the
utmost
show, Tim
confidence.
Mayza.
Friend of the show, Tim Mayza.
If you're
that's right.
new to the channel and you're a big fan of Tim Mayza, scroll back like Scott was saying at the top of the show because we've got a pretty solid hour-long interview with him talking about his recovery from Tommy John and what he hopes for this season and stuff like that. So really good guy.
And he's got a master's degree. The guy is brilliant on top of it all. Look at
Yes.
that.
There you go.
Okay. Unless you have anything to add Blue Jays wise, we'll take a hard left here.
No, I do wanna one last thing that I want to point out Blue Jays wise. Matt Chapman hit his 5th home run of the year. Quietly showing that home run power. I mean, he is on 30 home run pace at this point. He's got 5 home runs through the first 27 games of the year. That projects out for a nice round number of 30 home runs. So
Exactly what we were expecting. And he's
exactly
been
what we
lights
were
out at
hoping
third.
for. So there you go. Gold Glover with 30 home run potential. Like, that's wow. All right, let's move on from the Jays now.
So let's talk the Cincinnati Reds. And I don't know, there's probably some Jays fans that maybe don't follow the National League overly close, but you need to hear what is happening in Cincinnati because the tank job is on. They have been horrific, I think is probably the right word. Like, we watched the Reds trade off good player after good player in the offseason. We watched them walk. We watched them let their top free agents walk. We watched them ship out affordable veterans. Cincinnati is now 3-22 on the season. They have scored the NL worst 79 runs. In 25 games, they've scored 79 runs. If they doubled that, it would still be fewer runs than they've allowed. 166.
Yeah.
Their 6.9 ERA for their starting pitching is 2 full runs worse than the next worst team.
Yeah, Reds are bad.
This is tanking at its absolute ugliest. Like this
Or
is
at
just
its absolute finest, depending on how you look at it.
depending on how you view it. Like looking at these numbers, I'm just like, thank God I'm a Blue Jays fan.
This is just a total sidetrack here. When I was a kid, we had Super Nintendo, and we played Super Mario Kart. And with me and my brothers, we would play like the battle mode where you're trying to pop each other's balloons. Mm-hmm. Did you ever play that? Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Yes.
So there was a slight variation to this game mode that I don't know if we invented or if this was just common throughout the world. Maybe you can indulge me here and people in the comments can add to this. We had a game mode and battle mode, which was not an official rule set, but we called it specimens. And I'm not sure why we called it specimens. But the object of this battle mode was to kill yourself as fast as you could. So you would just try and find the green shells and then shoot it at a wall and have it hit yourself. You know, find a banana peel, lose a balloon, whatever.
Right.
Object was to just basically first one to lose all their balloons wins. It was way funner. I don't know why we even did it, but that's besides the case.
Amazing. I never played it that way, but now I'm really regretting that I was so
You're missing out.
lacking the creativity.
We'll get together this summer. We'll play Mario Kart. We'll go specimens mode and have a beer or two. Anyways, that's what it feels like with these Cincinnati Reds, where they're just like, the only way to explain being this bad is like they have to be doing it on purpose.
Yeah. So, I know you've pulled up a few things about the Cincinnati Reds here.
Yeah. So Cincinnati Reds run differential on the year.
Let's pile on now, Adam. We're going to pile right on here.
The Cincinnati specimens. Minus 87 run differential on the year. I'd say let's take a historical look at that for context. But let's just look back as far as last year. So what is a bad run differential for the end of the year, right? Well, the worst one last year was the Baltimore Orioles, and their run differential was minus 297. So we're already like a third of the way there, and we're only a sixth of the way through the season. Wow. So there was only, just quickly looking here, maybe half a dozen teams all of last year who had a run differential worse than the Reds currently have. And then if we look at, okay, well, Baltimore finished the year with the worst at minus 297. They must have had a pretty bad run differential at this point last year too, right? So let's look at that. On May 6th, 2021, their run differential, remember, finished at minus 297. At this point last year, it was only minus 6.
Wow. So the Reds could get a lot worse.
Yeah.
You know what? And this is one thing about this new CBA is that they were trying to stop stuff like this. So to add insult to injury, the Reds, even if they finish dead last, only have a 16.5% chance at the number 1 pick overall in 2023 because of the new draft lottery system that they've put into place in the collective bargaining agreement. But as if that's not bad enough, teams cannot receive lottery picks in 3 straight seasons. So if Cincinnati doesn't try to win by 2025, the earliest it can pick is 7th. So this tanking idea that Houston made popular and has proven works, right? I mean, if you look at Houston from 2015 till now, they've been one of the best consistently good teams out there. But the cards are stacked differently now. So Cincinnati trying to do what Houston did, like there's so many different obstacles that have been presented by the league to try and stop this sort of thing from happening. Like the Reds could be in a really tough spot over the next 5 to 10 years. Like they may not come out of this spin.
Well, I mean, you mentioned right off the top the draft and the lottery and only having a, what is it, 16% chance of the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, maybe more than any sport, drafting is like the smallest
Yeah.
piece of the pie anyway. Like, first
It's
overall
huge,
draft picks are
but
not a
player
guaranteed
development,
to be
yeah.
elite, right? Like up until this is a wild stat to me. Ken Griffey Jr., okay, retired not recently, but I mean relative to the history of the sport, pretty recently. He was the first overall draft pick to become a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
That's insane. That like,
Wow.
anyways, it's
Nice
just it's
stat,
no sure
buddy.
thing.
I did not know that. What a
Thank
nice
you.
little tidbit there.
You
Yeah.
go. So I just the chances that they get the first overall pick, I mean, smaller than they have been in years past, but even getting it, it's not the NFL where you're getting that elite quarterback to build your franchise around. You're not getting Sidney Crosby to, you know, bring Stanley Cups to your organization over the next couple of years. Like, it's just not a sure thing, even if they get it. So, yeah, there is not a lot of optimism there in Cincinnati.
Is there, like, can the league step in? Like, is there something that can be done here? It's pretty much. I'm just like, I'm at the point with the Reds where, like, I was going through their numbers all morning and I was just disgusted. I'm just like, let's call it a 29 team league. Let Cincinnati go fucking play AAA. If that's what they want to put on the field, then let's just call them a AAA team. 29 teams in the major leagues now, and until they have proven they deserve the right to be called an MLB team again, that you take it from them. Like, I don't know, man.
It's like over in Europe there in soccer, right? They have like the Premier League, but then like they have all the lower leagues beneath that of pro soccer, and then at like the end of the year you get relegated. So like, if
Yes.
you're like the last team, I don't know how many teams get relegated or what the threshold is for success, but like if you're bad in the Premier League, you're like not even in the Premier League next year. And whoever won the Tier 2 league, like they're now promoted to the Premier League. And obviously
Relegate the Reds. Relegate the Reds to Double A. Don't even go Triple A. Double A. Make them play the Fisher Cats. I am like 3-22. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? 79 runs scored, man. They've scored 79 runs.
Yeah,
that's 3 runs a game. I mean, we're kind of throwing stones in glass houses right now over the last week as Jays fans, but, you know, we also know the Jays offense is going to pick up. There's not a lot of hope in Reds Nation, right?
No, and that's I think that's where it comes down to, like, Reds as far as like rebuilding in baseball goes. Is like it's beyond just that first overall draft pick. It's just like, no, we just need prospects and we need like a volume of prospects and hope that some of them pan out and the time works out.
How are the Oakland A's making the Reds look so like the Reds are making the A's look good? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. No.
Anyways,
this we're
going to end on a happy note here. We're going to check in on an old pal of the Blue Jays, Rowdy Tellez, who set a Milwaukee Brewers record all time for the most RBIs ever accrued in a game by a player, which is very impressive. He hit 8 RBIs the other day against, of course, the Cincinnati Reds.
Do they even count? It's like an empty net goal in hockey, right?
Yeah, it's like you do the the weather adjustment there for the Reds.
Weather adjustment. Yeah. If it's cloudy, if it's sunny, or if it's red out, things get adjusted.
And Rowdy's actually been putting together a good little season there. Why don't we go over his stats? I know you've got those pulled up.
Nice little season. Hitting 275 on the year with an OPS of 966, which is phenomenal. Career high for him in that category. Mm-hmm. With 7 home runs and 22 RBIs at this point in the season.
And I mean, we saw the power out of Rowdy while he was with the Jays. He always had a ton of potential. He was just blocked, right? Like, when you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. playing first base, you're kind of out of luck if you're a first baseman coming up in the system, unfortunately. So, very cool to see him doing well. And on the Blue Jays side of things, too, Trevor Richards has been great for us in the bullpen. So, I love seeing trades that just do well for both teams, right? There's no real winner or loser. Just it really filled an area of need on both organizations.
Totally.
All the best to them. Love to see it. Go Rowdy.
Go Rowdy.
All right, let's end it at that. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully the Jays do wind up getting a game in today. It might be rained out. We may be double-heading tomorrow. But either way, final 3 games of this Guardian series. We will be back to discuss it on Sunday for Long Toss. We've got Baseball Jen joining us. Her fingers crossed.
Nice.
I know that she's got to double check with her mom as to what the Mother's Day plans are, but she figures she can do it. We've got the very funny Pat McDonald. He is a comedian out of Toronto. He's going to be joining us. And then, of course, we've got you and I and Joel. And
Joel's
does
plus
Joel
one.
have a guest for us? And Joel's +1. We'll figure that out.
+1. There you go.
So 6 to 8 Eastern every single Sunday. Again, that is live on YouTube. And then we're going to repost it Monday morning. But that is not live. And mailbag on Tuesday. Hopefully we've got confirmation from our special rostered guest as to
That would be nice.
we don't want to release the name until we actually have him locked in here. But yeah. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for all of the viewership, for constantly this walk-off community. Just honestly, it blows me away. Discord, you can join that. It's always free. There's a link in the show notes. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast and Instagram, The Walk Off Podcast. Take care, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.